Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I'm your teacher Simi Namir and today I'm here again with a new lecture. I hope everything is going well at your side. Let's start today's lecture. This is my lecture number 15 for grade 7 and this is our geography class. We have already started chapter number 4 which is land supply. The supply of land is perfectly inelastic, as change in demand of land does not lead to any change in supply of land, as land is a free gift of nature and its quantity is fixed. Supply curve of land is a straight vertical line. So land constraint simply means that there is scarcity of land or shortage of land to be developed for various uses. As a result, there is a limit to the amount of land we can develop for various uses. So that means that there is a land constraint or the supply of land is limited. We have already done this chapter and let me give you a glance here. Like in this chapter we talked about that land supply, and I've told you that land is a scarce resource, as uh, on the earth like 70% of the earth is blue, that is oceans, and 30% is only land. That's why earth is known as the blue planet, just because of the plenty of water on it. The land is only 30%. Now, not the whole 30% is usable, or we can say habitable for us. Like only 10% of the land is habitable and livable, and it is, we can say, arable. Arable means the land that is suitable for farming, and farming is our basic necessity, as we need food. So the rest of the 20% of land is either too cold, or we can say too mountainous, too steepy, or maybe too dry. So here then we learned about the types of land uses, and these are like croplands. Cropland is the land that is used for agriculture. Then pasture is the land that is specially cultivated food, grasses, crops for animals, for livestock. Then is forest land, obviously, like for a better environment and better atmosphere for a country, there should be 25% of the land should be forest land. So a lot of area is reserved by the forest areas. Then urban settlements, like the areas, all the city areas, all the public amenities, all the facilities, all the area like that comes under the city, the buildings, the factories, the industries that comes in the urban settlements. And some of the others, like we need areas for recreational purposes, we need areas for educational purposes, that comes in others. Then there are some ways to increase the supply of land, and especially the reasons for the increased demand for land, like why there's an increasing demand for land. um, mm, so there's, because of the increase in population. Now the population is like, just in 2008, if we see it, it rises to about 6.6 billion. And with this with this large population, we need to cultivate more land. We need to make more like roads for, we need more housing, more factories, more jobs, everything we need. So for this we need more land. Then there's a continuous system of loss of arable land, because of the overcultivation, because of the irrigation system, because of the overgrazing. We are continuously losing the arable or fertile land. Then is competition for land from biofuel. Like we are not only cultivating land for our food, we are not using land for our housing. We also need to cultivate some plants that for biofuel, as the fossil fuels are limited and we cannot rely on these fossil fuels. So we need some of the biofuel plant, just like the palm oil, or we can say the biodiesel. Then there are some ways to increase the supply of land. One of them is like the clearing of the forest. This is the common and easiest way, or we can say cheapest way to increase the land supply. Then reclaiming land from water bodies, reclaiming the land that is uh, used for mining purposes. We should restore the derelict land. Derelict land are the damaged land, so we should restore those damaged land that is damaged by mining activities, that is damaged by the we can say soil erosion, or that is damaged with over cultivation. So we can provide fertilizers, chemical fertilizers to the land to make it able to reuse. Then is irrigate dry land. Irrigation is another process through which like we can make the land able to be used for cultivation. Like about 13% of the world's land is comprised of the hot deserts, and there are very scanty rainfall in the hot deserts. So we can even use those deserts by providing irrigation facility, and now we have mechanized irrigation facility. Then it was like maximizing the land use. Like how can we maximize the use of available land? Like we have fixed land, so we should have some ways through which we can maximize its use. Now the first one is the making high-rise buildings. Instead of accommodating on a large area, we should go upwards. Like we should make high-rise buildings in a multi-story buildings, that we save the land. Then it's increase the density of the buildings. Like we should make the buildings very close to each other, so that's how we can save the land. Then terrace farming is that is especially common in the rural areas, and because like the hilly slopes or the slopes of the mountains that are unable that we are unable to use these type of rugged land and steepy areas for other purposes, so we can use them for farming. Then is soilless cultivation. As land is limited and scarce, so we can use the methods of soilless cultivation. Like we can cultivate our food instead of clearing the land. We can cultivate our food through hydroponics and aeroponics. So that was all about the land supply, and now we have already done with the three questions. So today we will do three more questions in this class. As we are already done with question number 1, 2, and 3 in the previous class, today we are doing question number 4. We are starting question number 4, and that is explain the factors that affect the demand for land. Now we have to give the factors for the rising demand of land, and there are three basic reasons, or we can say factors. So we can start with our answer with following are some of the factors that can affect the demand for land. Number one, you have to write it with a black pen and try to underline this heading. Give this heading, that is increase in population. The heading is increase in population. And now the explanation. The world's population has grown up to 6.6 billion. The world's population has grown up to 6.6 billion. With this larger population, more food, housing, roads, railways, recreational facilities, and jobs are needed. With this larger population, more food, housing, roads, railways, recreational facilities, and jobs are needed. This means more land has to be used for agriculture. This means more land has to be used for agriculture, housing, roads, and industries. This means more land has to be used for agriculture, housing, roads, and industries. That's why the demand for land is rising. That's why the demand for land is rising. This is another heading. Number 2, loss of arable land. Again, you have to write it with black pen and try to underline this heading, loss of arable land. And the explanation is, with a growing population, much pressure is put on the land. With a growing population, much pressure is put on the land. The land is used intensively and over a long period. The land is used intensively and over a long period, which can destroy the land. This is overcultivation. The land is used intensively and over a long period, which can destroy the land. This is overcultivation. About 30% of world's cropland has become unproductive. About 30% of the world's cropland has become unproductive. This is the result of soil erosion, loss of fertility, and increased salt content of the soil due to irrigation. This is the result of soil erosion, loss of fertility, and increased salt content of the soil due to irrigation. Land is also lost when overgrazing occurs. Land is also lost when overgrazing occurs. Now again we have a heading here. This is third reason, competition for land from biofuel. And you have to give this heading again with the black pen, and please underline the heading. That is competition for land from biofuel. Land is now not only used for crops and animals to feed the people, for housing the population, it is also used to grow biofuel plants such as oil palm. Land is now not only used for crops and animals to feed the people, for housing the population, it is also used to grow biofuel plants such as oil palm. Now question number 5. Explain the different methods to increase land supply. So this is like the ways to increase the land supply. Explain the different methods to increase land supply. And the answer here is, land supply can be increased with the following methods. Land supply can be increased with following methods, and the first one is land clearance. You have to give this heading with black pen, and please underline your heading. This is land clearance, and the explanation is, the fastest and cheapest method of increasing the land supply is to clear forests. The fastest and cheapest method of increasing the land supply is to clear forests. Farming and pasture is still the most important reasons for clearing of forests. Farming and pasture is still the most important reasons for clearing of forests. Now the second heading, land reclamation. The second heading is land reclamation, and the explanation is, land reclamation is the creation of new land that once was the ocean. Land reclamation is the creation of new land that once was the ocean. Mining land can also be reclaimed and reused by filling the mining holes and craters using for recreational facilities. Mining land can also be reclaimed and reused by filling the mining holes and craters using for recreational facilities. With modern building technology, land can be created like Palm Island in Dubai. With modern building technology, land can be created like Palm Island in Dubai. Now the third method is restoring derelict land. Restoring derelict land. Land can be destroyed by farming activities like the process of irrigation. Land can be destroyed by farming activities like the process of irrigation. Damaged land is known as derelict land, and the loss of fertility of soil can be restored by damaged land is known as derelict land, and the process of fertility of the soil can be restored by adding fertilizers. To reduce erosion, cover vegetation and shelter belts can be planted. To reduce erosion, this is soil erosion. To reduce erosion, cover vegetation and shelter belts can be planted. In mining areas, the mining waste has to be cleared, the large holes filled, and the contaminated soil has to be treated. In mining areas, the mining waste has to be cleared, the large holes filled, and the contaminated soil has to be treated. So that was the third method of restoring derelict land. Now the fourth one is irrigation. The fourth one or the fourth heading is irrigation. Some of the land do not receive much rainfall and the land is not very useful without water. Some of the land do not receive much rainfall and the land is not very useful without water. Irrigation ensures a regular supply of water so that the crops are not dependable on rainfall. Irrigation ensures a regular supply of water so that the crops are not dependable on rainfall. So this was your question number 5. Now let's do the last question, which is question number 6. How can we maximize the use of available land? Question number 6. How can we maximize the use of available land? And the answer is the use of available land can be maximized by number 1, making high-rise buildings. Number 2, increasing the density of the buildings. Number 2, increasing the density of the buildings. Number 3, terrace farming in rural areas. Number 3, terrace farming in rural areas. And number 4, soilless cultivation through hydroponics and aeroponics. Number 4, soilless cultivation through hydroponics and aeroponics. So this was the last question. We are done with all 6 questions of this chapter. Thank you so much, dear students, for watching this video. Please do this work in your neat notebook. Make a margin line, must write today's date and day, and please maintain your index with today's date. We'll meet up again. Till then, Allah Hafiz.